Is it possible to invest in esports? Stick around. Welcome to Framework Fortune. I am your host, Ben. If you're new to the channel and you want to learn about the stock market and building the framework for your financial freedom, start your journey here and now by hitting that subscribe button and the notification bell. So, can you invest in esports? Absolutely, and I recommend it especially if you're a gamer, because why not invest in what you love? Let me give you some numbers. Kansas City versus San Francisco Super Bowl 2020. 99.9 million people tuned in to view the Super Bowl. League of Legends World Championship, the end of the year 2019. Over 100 million people tuned in to view that. So the League of Legends World Championship had more viewers than the Super Bowl did. Think about that for a second. That is crazy. And the esports sector is poised to continue to grow to over billions of dollars by this year and so on. More and more major companies like Best Buy and Logitech are sponsoring these esports events and esports teams. There's high school kids out there making hundreds of thousands of dollars, some of them even millions, for these esports teams that they play for, just like pro athletes. So this sector is getting crazy. There's a lot of growth, a lot of profits to be made, a lot of companies that you can invest in. So without further ado, let's jump into my top 5 esports stocks. So number 5 on my list of esports stocks is Super League Gaming, and that's ticker symbol SLGG. And this company is providing a platform for amateur esports players to compete in esports leagues and other things like that. So they have a pretty good hand in the esports world. They're doing quite a bit. It's actually a pretty low float company, so there's not a ton of shares available to the public. So if this company started getting a lot of hype and a lot of investors start coming in, you're going to see the price jump very, very quickly. On top of that, it's only around $2.74 right now in price, so it's very, very cheap. Most people could afford 50 shares of a $2.74 company. That's not bank breaking. From the research that I've done, they've had 128% growth in the past year as far as their revenues. So this company is an esports company in the esports world that is making moves that you could definitely check out and think about investing in. It's definitely cheap enough to invest in. Number 4 on my list, Tencent Holdings. And this is ticker symbol TCEHY. And this company is a holding company. They have some ownership in several different gaming companies. So they have a lot of potential as well. Plus they have their hand in the esports world. And right now it's not too expensive. It's around $50 a share. And it also has an annual dividend. Now if you're investing long term or you're new to investing and you don't know much about dividends, dividends are some of the best stocks, in my opinion, to invest in, because for every share that you own of that company, you get a dividend check for a certain amount every year or maybe every quarter, depending on how the companies pay out. So it's a pretty safe investment when you have those dividends in there, because you're constantly making money off that stock, whether it goes up or down. But because this is a new sector, these stocks are probably going to continue to grow and go up, and those dividends are going to continue to grow. So there's a lot of potential for a lot of profit to be made off of these stocks. And Tencent Holdings, like I said, has a dividend, so that's very nice. But let's talk about some of the ownership that this company has. So they have 15% ownership in Glue Mobile, 5% ownership in Activision Blizzard, which is a big one, which is on this list. They have a small ownership in a Switzerland mobile game developer called Miniclip, and they own 40% of Epic Games. Now that's just some of what I found on this company. So they have their hands in all kinds of different pots in the esports world. I think it's a pretty strong company to invest in. They've shown 20% growth over the past year, and I think they're going to continue to grow. Number 3 on the list, Sony, and that's ticker symbol SNE. And Sony, everybody knows who Sony is. They have the PlayStation 4 and coming out with the PlayStation 5, I guess, or whatever their next console is going to be. This is another dividend stock. They pay an annual dividend, like the dividends, and Sony is in that gaming world. So I think this is a pretty solid esports stock because Sony is not going anywhere, and they're not only focused in esports. They have all kinds of other focuses. I think it's a pretty safe bet. Plus you have that dividend. So if you're looking for something extremely safe that isn't so full into esports but has a hand in esports, Sony I think is a great pick, and that's why it comes in at number 3. Number 3 on the list, Nvidia, ticker symbol NVDA. And if you don't know about Nvidia, they are a graphics card company, and they have the best gaming graphics cards out of anybody. They are leagues ahead of AMD or any other producer of gaming graphics cards. I don't think that they're ever going to be beat. They are continually advancing their technology. It's going to be really hard for any company to have better graphics cards than them. The biggest part of esports gaming is their PCs, and to have those good graphics for those video games, you have to have Nvidia graphics cards. So without Nvidia, there is no esports. You have to have the Nvidia graphics cards to have esports. So those two go hand in hand. It is a higher price stock, but this one pays a dividend as well. They actually pay a quarterly dividend, so every quarter you're going to get a dividend check from them. So if you're investing in esports, it's definitely one that you want to take a look at and most likely throw in your portfolio. Number 1, Activision Blizzard, ticker symbol ATVI. Everybody who is a gamer knows what Activision Blizzard is. Even people who don't know about gaming probably still have heard of this company. They do a lot of games that are played competitively in esports, and they've got their hand in that esports pot. So it's definitely one you want to check out. On top of that, it pays a dividend. It's paid a dividend consistently the last 4 or 5 years. The dividend has continually grown. You can take a look right here. 26-cent dividend, March 28, 2016. 30-cent dividend, March 28, 2017. 34-cent dividend, March 28, 2018. And a 37-cent dividend on March 27, 2019. So their dividend is continually increasing. The price of the stock is continually increasing. This company is not going anywhere. This is a billion-dollar gaming company. I think this is one of the most solid picks, and that's why it makes number 1. It has the dividend. It has the growth. It is all over the esports world, and it's probably going to be one of the number 1 supporters of that world. I don't think you can go wrong with this company as an investment if you're trying to invest in esports. On top of all those good things, it's only $62. It's not as expensive as Nvidia, which that's why it makes number 1 on my list. Now, of course, I'm sure some people are going to say, what about EA Sports? Can I invest in them? And yes, you can. I have it pulled up here. They don't pay a dividend. The reason this did not make my list is because EA Sports has done a lot of sketchy things to its gamer base with trying to sell them games that are kind of subpar, and then they have to sign up for subscriptions or other things to unlock content. So they're keeping them constantly buying stuff for one single game instead of just selling them one solid game. you have to continually to buy characters or more maps or whatever in that gaming scenario. But EA Sports is notorious for this. And if you go on any forums or talk to any gamers at all, they're not too happy with these EA Sports right now. So that's why I didn't make my list. I personally don't want to support a company that is a money grab company. And that's what EA Sports has been lately. They start to change some things around and it's not quite as sketchy as it has been, then it could be a good one to invest in. But like I said, I just don't believe in this company. So I wouldn't tell you as an investor and viewer of my YouTube channel to go invest in a company that I don't personally like. Now, there is other potential stocks that you can find that are esports related. The 5 that I chose are the 5 that I think personally are going to have the biggest growth and be the safest in that esports sector. So that's it for my list of esports stocks. If you want to invest, be sure to do your own research and due diligence first. Don't invest just because somebody on the internet tells you to. If you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. It helps with the YouTube algorithm. I'm your host, Ben. You've been watching Framework Fortune.